Why would a night security guard be staring at the company's network failure logs at 3 a.m., holding a flashlight in one hand and a broken pocket watch in the other, neither of which has anything to do with fixing servers, or maybe they do? If stories like this make you curious, the quiet ones, the overlooked ones, the kind of stories nobody expects, maybe consider liking this video and subscribing. It helps more than you know, and it means we get to share more stories like this one. All right, let me show you what happened when a CEO quietly followed her night guard after hours and uncovered a truth that changed absolutely everything. There is something strange about a man in a night guard uniform staring at cascading lines of error logs at 2 in the morning. Stranger still when he understands exactly what he is looking at. A silver pocket watch swings lightly from his fingers. The chain is worn, the clasp slightly bent. On the back, a small engraving catches the dim light of the server room. It reads, "Time only matters if you use it well." Samuel Ortiz stands in the glow of a network dashboard most engineers wouldn't recognize out of context. His badge reads Security, Third Shift. His hands are rough, lined with years of labor, but his eyes, they don't match. His eyes scan the error codes like a man reading a language he hasn't spoken aloud in years but never truly forgot. Packet loss, node failure, load imbalance, retry storm. He traces the flow diagrams on the screen with his gaze, not touching anything, not daring to. His jaw tightens, a subtle shift in weight, one foot forward, the other ready to leave, but something pins him here. An old instinct, maybe, or an old wound. Behind the thick glass walls of the upper floor, a security camera pivots with a soft mechanical click. Unseen to him, a different pair of eyes now watches. Eyes that belong to Margaret Liu, CEO of Halcyon Financial Systems. Her fingers tighten around a half-empty coffee cup. On her monitor, the grainy black and white feed shows the janitor who isn't acting like a janitor. She leans forward, eyes narrowing, watching the way Samuel's head tilts ever so slightly, following an error spike like someone who's been here before, someone who used to own a place like this. Her breath stays caught in her chest. Her whisper barely fills the room. "What are you doing down there?" The pocket watch clicks shut in Samuel's hand. Time only matters if you use it well. The office feels different after midnight. Still, hollow, as if the walls themselves are holding their breath. Margaret Liu sits behind her desk on the top floor of Halcyon Financial Systems. The glow of the city barely reaches through the floor-to-ceiling windows. Just reflections of quiet steel and tired ambition. Her coffee's gone cold. Her inbox blinks with drafts of things she doesn't want to send. She should go home. She knows that, but she doesn't. Instead, her eyes drift to the second monitor. The live feed from the building's security cameras. At first, it's habit. Noise for the brain, white noise for the heart. Then something catches camera 7, server hallway, Samuel Ortiz, night security, mid-50s, reliable, invisible, except not tonight. She watches as he stands there long after his scheduled patrol. No flashlight, no clipboard, just standing, but not idle. His head tilts, eyes track the blinking error feed displayed on the maintenance monitor mounted in the hall. He steps slightly closer, not touching, just reading. Reading. Margaret frowns, pulls up his employee file. Standard background, night guard for 6 years. Prior jobs, warehouse loading, equipment handling, courier. No degree on file, no certifications beyond basic security clearance. Her fingers hover over the keyboard. Instinct says move on. Rationality says it's nothing. But her gut disagrees. She rewinds the footage, watches again, slower. This time she notices the way Samuel's hand unconsciously taps the side of his leg, like someone counting packet routes in their head. Margaret leans back. The leather chair creaks beneath her. A thought forms, unwelcome but undeniable. That man isn't just looking, he understands exactly what he's looking at. Her pulse tightens. Who the hell are you? Samuel Ortiz. Margaret's fingers move faster now, not from panic but from something sharper. Curiosity edged with suspicion. She pulls up the building's access logs. Door entries, badge swipes, motion sensors, cross-references them against the night shift roster. There it is, clear as daylight. Samuel clocked in at 9:02 p.m. Standard. His last recorded patrol ended at 11:15. After that, silence. No scheduled duties, no logged patrol routes. But the server hallway motion sensor picked him up at 1:46 a.m. A full 2 hours after his shift technically ends. Her eyes narrow. She double-checks. No cleaning crew booked. No IT maintenance request. No valid reason for him to be anywhere near that section, let alone standing there like a man reading the building's heartbeat. Her hand grips the mouse tighter than necessary. She checks again. Samuel never used his badge to exit the building. No logout. No sign of departure. He's still inside somewhere. The cursor hovers over the security alert button. A single click would send someone down. A report would be filed. A termination would follow. Simple, clean, corporate, but her hand doesn't move. Not yet. Instead, her eyes drift back to the paused frame on the camera feed. Samuel, standing still, watching lines of code flash by like someone remembering a language he swore he would never speak again. A knot tightens in her chest. This doesn't make sense, or maybe the part that doesn't make sense is how long it took her to notice. Samuel moves through the building like someone tracing familiar lines on an old map. Not rushed, not random. Every step, every pause has intention. In the west hallway, a fluorescent bulb flickers. Just once, twice. Before stabilizing, he notices. His cart rolls to a stop. He reaches up, adjusts the fixture with 2 fingers, tightens the socket just slightly. The flickering stops. No one will ever know why it fixed itself, but it did. At the end of the corridor near the finance department, a network cabinet hums louder than usual. Not broken, but warm. Samuel kneels, opens the vent panel. His fingers run along the intake filter, clogged, probably ignored for months. He swaps it out, checks the airflow. The hum settles, cooler now, stable. A few feet away, someone left a prototype tablet charging directly on top of a stack of paper files. Bad idea. The battery overheats. Samuel slides a ceramic coaster underneath, absorbs the heat, protects the paper, moves on. In the marketing wing, a printer jams, flashing error code 57. He doesn't have the service manual. He doesn't need it. A twist here, a realignment there. The paper feeds cleanly again. The jam disappears like it was never there. Little things. Things no one notices, things no one thinks matter. Except they do. Every time he adjusts a loose panel, tightens a server mount, straightens an Ethernet cable sagging too close to the ground. It's not janitorial instinct, it's architecture, system thinking. The reflexes of someone who used to build things designed not to fail. As Samuel walks, his hand brushes the edge of an old corkboard tucked behind a storage cabinet. On it a faded note, handwritten, years old. If it matters, protect it. If it doesn't, why are you touching it? Samuel folds the note, slides it into his back pocket, his steps steady, his eyes softer. His work continues. Near the mechanical storage room, tucked behind a tangle of backup routers and disassembled server racks, hangs a wooden plaque, faded, cracked at the corners. The kind of thing most employees have walked past 1,000 times without ever seeing. The grain of the wood is darkened from years of dust and fingerprints. Screws rust at the edges, but the words remain sharp, carved deep, burned into the surface. If it matters, protect it. If it doesn't, why are you building it? Below the quote, in smaller script, a date, May 2011. Samuel stands there longer than necessary. His fingertips graze the edge of the board, tracing the indentations of the letters like someone reading Braille. Not rushed, not absent, fully present. His reflection glimmers faintly in the brushed steel of a nearby server casing. Older now, a little more bent at the shoulders, but the same hands. The same mind, the same person who once believed those words weren't just philosophy, but architecture, a way of living. A quiet breath leaves his chest, not heavy, not bitter, just acknowledgement. He adjusts the crooked edge of the plaque, straightens it, steps back. It leans a little less now, feels a little more like it belongs. Then, without a word, Samuel turns, rolls his cart down the hallway. The echo of his steps fades. But the words stay. The rain doesn't fall in sheets tonight. It drifts sideways, carried by wind that smells like salt and old concrete. Streetlights scatter halos against the wet asphalt. Everything reflects. Everything looks thinner. Edges blur beneath the shimmer. Margaret's hands tighten around the steering wheel of her black sedan. Her headlights stay dim, 3 car lengths back. Careful, measured. Up ahead, Samuel's old silver hatchback rolls down Harbor Street like it's driven by muscle memory alone. No hurry, no hesitation, like a man with a destination burned into his bones. She watches his brake lights flash. A left turn, then another, past rows of closed storefronts, past chain-link fences sagging under the weight of rust and time. This isn't the city she knows, not the glass towers, not the polished offices. This is a different Tacoma, the one the skyline forgets. A neon sign flickers over a boarded-up laundromat. Open, it claims. But everyone knows it's not. A stray cat darts between puddles. Somewhere a freight train moans in the distance. Samuel drives steady, predictable, like a man following a routine he never explains to anyone. Margaret swallows hard. Her fingers tap the steering wheel. Once, twice. A pulse. Not nerves exactly, something heavier. Because this, whatever this is, isn't what she expected. The hatchback signals right, slows, pulls into the side lot of an old community center. Half the sign is missing. What's left reads, Harbor Learning. The rest swallowed by shadows. The hatchback's engine cuts. Its headlights flicker off, swallowed by the rain. Samuel steps out, moves to the trunk, lifts it with a familiar motion. Not rushed, not burdened, just routine. From inside, he pulls a battered duffel bag. Then a stack of old laptops. 4, maybe 5. Their plastic casings are scratched. Duct tape holds the hinges on some. These machines have lived other lives before this night. Margaret kills her engine, leans forward. Her fingers hover near the dash like reaching for something invisible, something solid, but there's nothing. Samuel balances the pile against his hip, shoulders the bag, walks to the side entrance of the building. No keys, just knocks twice, sharp, rhythmic, and the door clicks open. Warm light spills out, not fluorescent, not corporate. Softer. Harsher in places, a patchwork glow like someone stitched this space together from whatever they could find. From the cracked driver's window, Margaret squints. What is this place? A repair shop? No, not quite. A business, no signs, no customers. Then her eyes catch movement inside. Silhouettes, small, kids, 7, maybe 10 of them, clustered around folding tables stacked with wires, tools, motherboards. One girl cradles a soldering iron. A boy holds the half-gutted shell of a desktop PC. Their faces lit not by smartphones or games, but by the soft blue glow of code scrolling across second-hand monitors. At the center of it all, Samuel, not security guard, not janitor, not invisible, He moves like someone who belongs here, points at a circuit diagram scrawled on a whiteboard, kneels to help a kid reconnect jumper wires. His face, stern but gentle, shifts in a way she's never seen inside the walls of Halcyon. Margaret exhales, slow, unsteady. Whatever story she thought she was following, this isn't it. Not even close. Inside, the air smells of warm solder, dust, and the faint tang of machine oil. The overhead lights flicker in places, half the ceiling panels are missing. Wires run like veins along the rafters, dangling over folding tables cluttered with keyboards, stripped hard drives, and motherboards half reborn. Samuel stands at the far end of the room. His jacket's off now, sleeves rolled. The Navy uniform looks softer under this light, less like a barrier, more like skin. "All right," he says, voice steady but patient. "Show me where it broke." A boy no older than 10 pushes forward a laptop with the screen frozen in BIOS error. Samuel kneels beside him. His hands move carefully not fast but practiced, pointing to connectors, coaxing the kid's own fingers to follow. "Power supply's good. Check the RAM next. What's the rule?" The boy bites his lip, thinks. "Isolate, test, replace." Samuel nods. "Good. Start there." Around the room, other kids work in pairs. One girl runs diagnostics on a refurbished desktop, her screen filled with lines of bash commands. Another group fiddles with a Raspberry Pi hooked to a tangle of LED strips, trying to make the lights dance in sequence. On a crooked whiteboard written in blue marker, a simple network diagram sprawls. Nodes, lines, bottlenecks. Across the top, one phrase, written in block letters, anchors everything. "If it matters, protect it." Samuel moves between stations, sometimes kneeling, sometimes crouching low to meet their eyes. No lectures, no scolding, just presence, just teaching. And his eyes, Margaret notices, they're different here. Not guarded, not worn. There's a spark, something quietly alive. The kind of light that doesn't come from authority or paycheck or necessity. It comes from remembering that you still have something to give. Through the rain-streaked window, Margaret watches, breath held. Her mind scrambles to reconcile the man she's seeing now with the one who silently walks her building's halls, mop in hand. This isn't moonlighting. This isn't hobby. This is the real job. And somehow she knows. Deep in her chest was that it always was. The glow of the laptop screen feels colder now. Margaret sits alone in her home office, hands hovering over the keyboard longer than they should. She types the name, Samuel Ortiz, into the search bar, adds Tacoma, then financial just to see. For a moment, nothing, just noise. A LinkedIn profile barely filled out, a generic job listing for night security at Halcyon, the kind of digital footprint designed to disappear. But then, something clicks. A decade-old article from the Puget Sound Business Journal. Headline: Sable Point Technologies closes Series C, valued at $143 million. She stares, breath held. A photo loads. 4 men in button-downs, all smiling too tight for it to be genuine. Her eyes land on the one far left, younger, cleaner shaven, no gray in his hair but unmistakably. Samuel, co-founder, chief systems architect. She clicks deeper, press releases, conference talks, patent filings. His name etched into the DNA of the company. Then, the turn. A legal docket, case number she doesn't recognize. Ortiz vs. Sable Point Technologies. Filed 2015. She scans the summary. A whistleblower claim. Samuel reported a critical vulnerability in the company's financial routing engine. Something that could have compromised millions. The company buried it, denied it, fired him. The lawsuit settled quietly, no fault admitted, no headlines followed, just silence. Except not silence. Something worse. Sable Point went public a year later. None of the founding team ever mentioned Samuel again. His name vanished from the press, from the narrative, and now, a man who once signed 7-figure contracts scrapes gum off conference room floors. Margaret leans back, stares at the screen, hands trembling, not from shock, but from something heavier. Guilt, or maybe recognition. A younger Samuel stands beneath the glow of stage lights, a clean-cut blazer, a wireless mic hooked to his ear. Behind him, a 30-foot screen flashes the logo of Sable Point Technologies. His voice carries with that precise mix of confidence and humility only someone who's built something from scratch can conjure. Financial systems, he says, shouldn't just process numbers. They should be resilient, trustworthy, transparent. The crowd applauds, rows of investors, clients, journalists, all leaning forward, hungry for what's next. Click, next slide, a network diagram, node clusters, load balancers, encrypted transaction pathways, our routing engine. Samuel continues, can process 4 million microtransactions a minute with a packet loss rate below 0.002. A pause. He smiles. We didn't build this because it was easy. We built it because it matters. Applause. Cameras flash, cut, conference room, smaller, tighter, tense. Samuel stands at the head of a polished table, hands gripping a printed log file. This isn't a hypothetical. His voice sharper now. The failover loop collapses under concurrent load. If this goes live, someone's going to lose real money. Or worse. The CTO leans back. We patched it. It's not a patch problem. It's an architecture problem. Another exec, arms crossed, jaw tight, mutters, "You're overreacting." "No." Samuel's fingers tighten. "I'm doing my job." Cut. Legal documents spread across a kitchen table. A toddler's toy in one corner. Samuel sits, hands in his hair. Across from him, a lawyer flips pages. "If you file, they'll blackball you. You know that." Samuel doesn't answer, just stares, quiet, steady, then, pen in hand, he signs. Cut. Courtroom. Fluorescent lights. Tension so thick it feels like gravity. The judge reads terms. Settlement, confidentiality, case closed. Samuel steps out of the courthouse into cold gray rain, his blazer soaked within seconds, hands empty, everything, title, company, reputation, gone. The world moves on. And somewhere a different story begins. One no one else ever bothers to write. Margaret scrolls further, fingers slower now, as if the next click might hurt more than she's ready for. An obituary, dated 6 years ago. Isabella Ortiz, 38, beloved mother, wife, and community volunteer, survived by her husband Samuel and their daughter Lucia, age 5. Her eyes skim the words but feel every one like a bruise. Pancreatic cancer. Diagnosed late. Fought hard. Gone fast. A photo loads. Samuel. Younger, but tired in a way that youth can't disguise. Standing beside Isabella, one arm around her frail shoulder, the other holding the tiny hand of a little girl with tangled hair and oversized shoes, Lucia. The caption reads, "Family above all." Margaret leans back, breath shallow. Her gaze catches her own reflection in the dark window behind the screen. For a second, it doesn't feel like spying. It feels like trespassing into someone else's grief. Another file surfaces. A property record. Foreclosure notice, dated 7 months after Isabella passed. A modest house on 4th and Alder. The words sting. Defaulted. Lost. Everything unraveling, one thread at a time. Her mouse hovers over one last document. Employment history, 3 jobs in 6 years. Warehouse loader, grocery stocker, night security. No interviews, no mentions, no returns to tech. Just a man quietly building a life from whatever broken pieces were left. And now, Margaret exhales, her throat tight. That man teaches kids how to solder circuit boards in a forgotten building no one else cares about. Her eyes lower. For the first time in a very long time, she doesn't know how to feel. The operations floor is chaos. Rows of monitors glow red. Error logs cascade like digital rain. Warnings stack faster than anyone can read them. CPU load spikes. Memory leak alerts ping non-stop. On the main dashboard, a wall-sized screen usually glowing a safe, boring green. Every node now blinks crimson. Packet loss. Sync failure. Data mapping error. A young engineer curses under his breath. No, 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 this isn't possible. His fingers fly over the keyboard, toggling console windows, running diagnostics, but the numbers just get worse. A manager bolts over. "What's failing?" "Everything," the engineer snaps. "It's the routing layer, or, no, the load balancer, or the API handler. I don't know. None of this makes sense." Another voice from across the room. "Client dashboards are down. Transactions are misfiring. Field reports are coming in. Vitals mismatched. Values corrupted." A project lead slams her headset onto the desk. If this leaks to investors, she doesn't finish. She doesn't have to. Margaret pushes through the commotion. Her eyes scan the graphs. CPU thermal throttling. Node 5 overloaded. API translation queue collapsing. One fatal error flashes over and over. "Sync thread exception. Data loss imminent." Someone shouts, "Kill the push. Roll it back." Another answers, "It's already live. 12,000 devices. We can't pull it." The room pulses with one shared realization. A slow rising dread. The system isn't bending, it's breaking. "You're looking in the wrong place," an engineer barks, fingers stabbing at his monitor. "It's not back-end. The firmware's broken, the handshake keeps collapsing." A back-end lead fires back. "That's bull. The firmware's fine. Check the translation layer. The API's dumping malformed packets under load." "No, you check your balancers." Another snaps. "Node 5's been overheating for a week." The logs are full of thermal throttling warnings. Margaret stands still, listening, watching the tension spike as quickly as the error rates. "We flagged that cooling issue last month," someone mutters. "Nobody approved the maintenance ticket." "That's not the issue!" shouts a systems architect. "The load balancer's fine until the packet retrie's flooded. That's coming from back end. Look at the thread collisions." The thread collisions happen because your firmware throws junk packets when the memory buffer spikes. It's a device-side fault. No. Look at the sync queue. Async retry storms. The middleware isn't releasing dead connections. A different voice cuts through. Tighter. Sharper. "If we don't stabilize the handshake protocol, none of this matters." The CTO slams his palm on the desk. "Enough! Stop talking in circles. Where's the root cause?" Silence. No one answers, because no one knows. Margaret's eyes flick toward the main board. Node 5 blinks red then black, CPU failure. One after another, adjacent nodes start to spike. Heat maps bleed crimson, and beneath the noise, beneath the shouting, one unspoken truth simmers. This is bigger than any one patch. This is a foundation cracking. The kind of failure you don't fix with duct tape and quick commits. Someone exhales. Not relief, not frustration. Something heavier. Fear. Margaret steps out of the war room. The glass door hisses shut behind her, muffling the chaos, but not silencing it. Voices still spill through, sharp, frantic, hopeless. The hallway feels colder now, too still, too quiet. She turns her head and freezes. At the far end of the corridor by the janitor's supply closet, Samuel stands, hands resting casually on his cart, shoulders relaxed, head tilted but not idle, his eyes. They aren't watching the hallway, they're locked onto the big dashboard monitor through the glass, watching as error logs flash, as packet failure rates climb, as the system hemorrhages under its own weight, not confused, not curious, focused. Margaret follows his gaze, then back to his face. His jaw tightens, subtly. His brow furrows, not in panic but in calculation. His left thumb taps rhythmically against the cart handle, like someone counting processor cycles in his head. And in that instant, clean, sharp, undeniable, Margaret knows. He understands exactly what's happening. She blinks, hard. Her brain scrambles to rationalize it, to shove this moment into a box where it might make sense. It doesn't fit. A janitor doesn't read packet loss graphs like that. A night guard doesn't track API collapse like watching a slow-motion train wreck. And yet, Samuel does. A beat passes, then another. His eyes flick, left, right, as if following invisible threads, mapping failure paths that no one else inside that glass-walled room has yet pieced together. For one long, breathless second, Margaret realizes something terrifying. The man pushing the mop might be the only person in this entire building who actually understands what's breaking. And why. "Samuel!" Margaret calls, sharper than she intended. He stops, doesn't turn right away. Turn right. One hand lingers on the cart handle. The squeaky wheel, the one that always drifts left, falls silent. When he does turn, it's slow, measured. His face is unreadable, neither surprised nor defensive, just waiting. Margaret steps closer, arms crossed, words jam against her teeth. The usual scripts don't apply here. This isn't a staff correction. This isn't protocol. It's something messier. "You were watching the dashboard." Her voice is quieter now. "You understood what you were seeing." Samuel doesn't blink. "I was observing," he says. His tone is neutral, careful, but there's a subtle shift in the way he braces his shoulders, like someone ready for a punch that might come. Margaret exhales, trying to find footing. How? Why? She gestures vaguely toward the operations room. That's not janitor work. A long pause. Samuel studies her, not hostile, not evasive, just calculating how much truth the air between them can hold. "Does it matter?" he asks, not sarcastic, not deflecting, just honest. Margaret's jaw tightens. "Yes, it does." Silence stretches. The hum of server racks fills the space where answers should be. Finally, Samuel glances down, thumb tapping the cart handle again, steady as a clock. When he looks back up, his eyes are softer, but tired. So tired. I wasn't always here, he says quietly. I used to fix things that mattered. Her breath catches that phrasing. Deliberate, weighted. The air shifts. Something fragile and dangerous sits between them now. A choice neither was planning to make tonight. Margaret swallows, then softer, almost a whisper. Can you help? A beat. Samuel doesn't nod, doesn't smile, but his answer is quiet, solid. Maybe. Samuel exhales, long, steady, like someone weighing whether to run or stay. His fingers tighten on the edge of the cart, knuckles pale. Why me? His voice isn't sharp, not bitter, just tired, heavy in a way that comes from carrying something too long, for too many years. You've got a room full of engineers, directors, people with titles. Margaret shifts. The CEO mask slips for a second, and beneath it there's something raw, something almost fragile. Her arms fold tighter, not defensive, not commanding, just grounding herself. Because they don't know what they're looking at, she answers. And you do. A beat, his eyes narrow, not with suspicion but with something closer to pain. Why should I? Samuel asks, softer this time. You know who I am, or who I used to be, and who I am now. Why should I step back into something that broke me? Her throat tightens. There's no corporate language for this moment. No performance review metric, no quarterly report formula, so she says the only thing left, stripped of power, rank, ego. No titles. Her voice barely rises above a whisper. No CEO, no janitor, no past, no debt. Just help, please. And the word hangs there. Please. Heavier than anything else in the hallway. Silence. Samuel looks past her, at the operations room glowing red through the glass. Error logs pouring down like digital rain. A system drowning. He closes his eyes for half a second, breathes, then opens them. A subtle shift. Posture straighter, shoulders square. Not fully agreeing. Not yet. But something cracks. All right, he says quietly. No titles, just the problem. And for the first time in years, he steps toward it. For a moment, Samuel stands completely still. No words, no movement, just the low hum of server fans filling the silence between them. Then, slow, deliberate, he pulls off one glove. Fingers work methodically, tugging at each seam. Not rushed, not hesitant, just intentional. The glove folds in his hand. He tucks it into his back pocket like a ritual. The other follows. Bare hands now, a small gesture but one that shifts the air entirely. Off the record, Samuel says, not a question, a condition. His voice steady, firm. Margaret nods. Off the record. Her voice mirrors his, stripped down, simple. A glance passes between them, not trust yet, but something adjacent, a temporary armistice, a line drawn in silence. Neither will say out loud how absurd this is. A CEO and a night guard walking side by side toward a problem neither fully owns but both can't ignore. Samuel adjusts the collar of his jacket, checks the squeaky wheel on his cart, instinct more than necessity, then leaves it behind. Together they cross the hallway. Each step echoes louder than it should. As they reach the conference room, Margaret presses the door open. The war of voices, code, and panic spills back instantly. Heads whip toward them, conversations stutter. Samuel steps in, steady, shoulders squared, eyes scanning the dashboard like an old friend he never wanted to see again. Margaret follows, saying nothing. No introductions, no explanations. Just this, the problem. The room freezes, eyes shift from Samuel to the dashboard, then back again, struggling to process what they're seeing, what they're understanding. Samuel steps toward the main console. His hands hover above the keyboard, steady, measured. He doesn't ask for permission, doesn't need to. Fingers glide over the keys, commands flick open. Terminal windows, error logs, back-end pipelines. Then he stops. A line of legacy code fills the main screen. Not just any code. At the top, in pale gray, barely noticeable to anyone but the person who wrote it, a signature line glows. Sync Handler V1.3, authored by S. Ortiz, 2015. A beat, the air shifts from chaos to something heavier, more brittle. A junior developer exhales too loud. Someone at the far table mutters, stunned. Wait, what? The CTO straightens in his chair, suddenly pale. The back-end lead leans forward like gravity itself, just tilted. Samuel doesn't flinch. His jaw tightens, but his eyes stay locked on the screen, reading, remembering, watching an old version of himself stare back from the terminal prompt. This wasn't supposed to happen. Not tonight. Not ever again. Behind him, Margaret catches her breath. She glances around. Every face a mirror of disbelief, confusion, and dawning realization. No one speaks it aloud, but the thought is loud enough to crack the walls. The janitor wrote this. Samuel inhales, slow and deliberate. Then, without looking back, voice low even, he says the thing no one else in this room is brave enough to name. Yeah, I built this. Samuel doesn't move away from the terminal. His fingers hover for a beat, then tap. Slow, precise, as if retracing old footsteps inside a house he once built and abandoned. Lines of code fill the screen, legacy modules, patchwork additions layered over fragile scaffolding. He draws a breath. His voice cuts through the silence. Calm, even. Your firmware's not the problem. Samuel begins. It's not device side. It's not API. And it's not the load balancer choking first. His eyes flick to the live graph. Packet loss. Node crashes, retries spiking in waves. This is a concurrency failure. Buried. Deep. His hand gestures to a highlighted function. Middleware. Right here. The sync handler. A back-end engineer leans forward, squinting. That's a retry queue. Samuel nods. It was. 8 years ago this worked fine when we had a single-threaded pipeline. No remote telemetry, no multi-point data ingestion, but... His thumb taps the console. Nobody rewrote the thread manager when you scaled. A line glows, a bottleneck marked. This block here, async retries. The thread pool grows under load, but the job dispatcher never releases dead queues. He circles another node. When node 5 thermal throttles, the balancer reroutes traffic, flooding the API handler with malformed packets. Another highlight, those packets get mismapped. Heart rate tags as oxygen saturation, saturation tags as respiratory rate. Backend parses it as valid. Garbage in, garbage out. A junior engineer stammers, "Holy, that's exactly what's happening." Samuel continues steady, unemotional, not cruel, just facts. Every patch since then. Duct tape. You weren't fixing the foundation, you were hiding the cracks. He looks up, first time meeting the CTO's stunned gaze. This wasn't a sudden failure. His voice lowers. This was inevitable. Silence. The room feels smaller now. The graphs blink red, almost embarrassed by how obvious it looks in hindsight. Samuel exhales. It's not one bug. His fingers hover over the keyboard. It's a design flaw, one I left behind. Samuel exhales. Hands settle on the keyboard, not rushed, not dramatic. His fingers move with the precision of someone who doesn't need to guess, who already knows where the bones are buried. The screen splits into 2 panes. Left, the current bloated production code. Right, the original framework skeleton. His eyes scan it like a surgeon examining an X-ray. Start here, he mutters. More to the code than the room. He highlights a handler buried 6 layers deep, deletes a block, rewrites another, thread queues, priority locks, async retries converted into safe, bounded pool. The back-end lead whispers, he's rewriting the sync architecture in real time. A junior dev stammers, wait, is that legal? You can just... The CTO waves him quiet. No one interrupts. No one dares. Samuel's voice stays low, firm. Every time you added a feature, someone bolted on another patch, another exception, another duct tape solution that ignored the thread model. His fingers pause over a comment block. His own handwriting stares back. He deletes it. No one ever stopped to ask if the foundation still fit the building. His tone doesn't accuse, it mourns. New lines populate. Error handling, deadlock prevention, throttle control rewritten from scratch. His hands move faster now, not frantic but flowing, familiar, like breathing. Then a final keystroke. He leans back, runs the simulation. The dashboard flickers, CPU spikes flatten, packet loss drops, node 5 stable, node 6 recovering. One by one the error logs fade. Red turns amber. Amber shifts to green. The room doesn't cheer, doesn't clap. It's not that kind of silence. It's the silence of people realizing for the first time how close they came to the edge. Samuel stands, rolls his wrists. For the first time all night, he turns fully to face the room. His voice softens, but sharpens too. You don't just fix code like this. He glances toward the CTO, then the back-end lead, then the youngest engineer in the corner who hasn't breathed in 60 seconds. You fix your culture or this happens again. Different bug, same story. A long pause. His gaze hardens. Not cruel, but honest. Stop treating your systems like they're disposable. Stop treating people like they are. No one argues. No one looks away. Margaret stands by the door, arms crossed, watching. Not as a CEO now, but as someone who's finally seeing the anatomy of her own company laid bare. Samuel breathes once more, then quiet, final. It's stable. For now. He picks up his gloves. Doesn't put them on yet. Whether it stays that way, that's on you. The Harbor Code Lab isn't much to look at from the outside. An old brick building with peeling paint tucked between a laundromat and a closed-down diner. But inside, something hums. Light spills from rows of mismatched monitors. The air smells of soldering flux, warm plastic, and cheap coffee. Tables once held together by duct tape now gleam with fresh plywood. Wire racks line the walls stacked with circuit boards, salvaged motherboards, and bins labeled resistors may be working. At the far end, a whiteboard leans slightly crooked, but the handwriting on it is crisp, bold. If it matters, protect it. If it doesn't, why are you building it? The same words, the same mantra, only now it belongs to more than just one man. Samuel stands near the workbench, arms crossed, watching, not instructing, just watching. A girl, maybe 10, frowns over a tangled bundle of jumper wires. It's not running the motor, she mutters. A boy next to her leans in. Check your ground, bet you skipped it. She grins. Sheepish, then adjusts the clip. The little robot twitches, then rolls forward with a soft whir. Laughter bubbles up. Not loud, not wild, just the quiet, earnest kind of joy that comes from making something work. In the corner, Sophie, Samuel's daughter. Sits with two younger kids explaining how a for-loop controls LED timing. Her hands move confidently, tracing invisible diagrams mid-air. Samuel's eyes soften. His hands rest on the edge of the table. Not fidgeting, not bracing, just present. By the door, a new plaque hangs. Clean wood, matte finish, letters etched deep. Harbor Code Lab, built for second chances beneath it. Smaller. Solve it, teach it, pass it on. Outside, rain taps against the window. Inside, the future hums. Quiet, steady, working. Margaret stands near the entrance, hands tucked into the pockets of her coat, watching quietly. Not as a CEO, not as someone responsible for targets or margins, just as a mother. At the center table, her son, Nathan, leans over a breadboard, brow furrowed in deep concentration. Beside him, Leo, Samuel's boy, grins, holding a multimeter like it's the most natural thing in the world. Nathan pokes at the circuit. Wait, if I bridge this here, won't it short? Leo nods. Yeah, but if you add the resistor first, here, it balances like letting the current breathe. Nathan laughs. Not the forced, polite laugh Margaret usually hears at dinner. This one's lighter, honest. For a long time, she just watches. No words, no emails buzzing, no crisis to solve. Her shoulders, usually drawn tight, drop just a fraction. Her jaw unclenches. There's something profoundly simple in this moment. Two boys who didn't know each other a month ago now sitting shoulder to shoulder, arguing over circuits, helping without thinking. Not competition, not hierarchy, just curiosity, play, the sheer stubborn joy of figuring something out. Together, Margaret exhales. Slow, careful, and for the first time in longer than she can remember. It doesn't feel like the world is waiting to collapse. Her gaze lifts to the workshop, to the hum of code and laughter, to the gentle pulse of a second chance, unfolding right in front of her. Samuel sits by the back workbench, away from the hum of monitors and chatter. His hands move slowly, carefully, not over circuits or soldering wires, but something older, something heavier, a pocket watch. Brass, dented at the edges, the glass scratched. The hour hand frozen at 4:17, a time that for years simply refused to move. His fingers pry open the backplate. The tiny gears inside lie caked with dust, one spring half slipped from its socket. A problem he's ignored longer than most others, or maybe one he never felt ready to fix with the precision of someone who's rebuilt entire systems blindfolded. Samuel nudges the spring back into place, tweaks the tension, coaxes a stubborn gear back onto its axle, a soft click, then tick, tick, tick. The sound feels louder than it should. Foreign, but familiar, like breathing air he forgot existed. Samuel watches, silent, as the hands crawl forward for the first time in years, not racing, not smooth, but moving. His reflection catches in the polished brass, a little older, a little more weathered, but present. He closes the watch, thumb brushing over the engraving on the back, nearly worn smooth. A simple word, endure. Behind him, laughter bubbles from the workshop. A robot wheel clatters loose. Someone groans, another cheers. Samuel stands, tucks the watch into his pocket, where it belongs now, then glances toward the entrance. There, mounted just above the doorway, the plaque catches the afternoon light. The words burn deep into the grain, built for second chance, and beneath it, smaller but just as true, solve it, teach it, pass it on. The camera holds steady on the pocket watch in Samuel's hand. The second hand ticks. Soft, steady, for the first time in years. Outside the harbor code lab, the evening light glows against the wooden plaque above the door, built for second chances. Inside, laughter rises, a robot bumps into a table leg. Someone cheers, someone else groans. Samuel glances down at the watch once more, then tucks it gently into his jacket pocket, exactly where it belongs now. By the entrance, Margaret watches her son high-five Leo, both of them grinning over a circuit that finally works. She smiles, not the polite corporate kind, a real one. The kind that feels like exhaling after holding your breath for far too long. Samuel steps outside. The rain has stopped. Only the quiet sound of waves brushing against the harbor remains. He looks up at the sign. His thumb brushes the edge like sealing a promise only he fully understands. A quiet voice, almost a whisper. Funny thing about second chances, sometimes they don't just fix the past, they rebuild the future. If stories like this remind you that kindness still matters, that second chances are real, maybe consider liking this video and subscribing. It helps us share more stories that just maybe deserve to be told. Thank you for watching.